They're not responding. Again. The Chancellor of the Kavar Dominion, 12 feet tall and plated in mirrored scale, lifted a claw and waved the statement away. They never respond. That's the point. Primitive apes, he sneered, fangs clicking. They still launch rockets with combustion. They still sleep. The council chamber buzzed with distorted holograms, flickering with each ripple from the scream. That sound, low, guttural, layered like metal tearing against gravity, had echoed through 20 systems. Ships malfunctioned. AI routines looped in terror. Children stopped breathing in their sleep, and no species had claimed it, except Earth. Their system pulsed with the origin signature, a backwater rock spinning around a yellow sun. No diplomacy, no denial, just silence. They ignored the Galactic. "Accord," hissed Minister Selkan, his voice like insect legs scraping metal. They heard the scream and said nothing. That alone is a declaration. The room shifted into tension. A decision was coming. "We send an observation fleet," offered Admiral Krylos, mandibles flaring. 200 ships, cloaked. Watch and classify. "You want to watch Earth?" "No," Krylos whispered. "I want to watch what answers them." The silence that followed was not empty. It was heavy. Symbolic. Then, they screamed first. "Now we'll teach them who the void belongs to." AVD spike. But they didn't scream first. They heard it first. Deep beneath the crust of old Europa, sealed behind alloy no empire could melt, the last cold awakening protocol activated. Lights flickered. Not red. Not alarm. Blue. Frozen. Still, chamber shifted. Steel groaned. And something vast, something older than memory opened its eyes. Not with hunger, with purpose. Earth Command. This is Cryo Relic 07. We have rejoined the sky. Across 1,000 frequencies the voice was felt, not heard. In the silence of the solar system, satellites rebooted. Ancient weapons blinked. Mars echoed with seismic pulses as bunkers long abandoned began to stir. And Earth? Earth still said, nothing. But above its clouds, just beyond the atmosphere, metal shimmered, once hidden, now waking. The humans called it, the Aegis aliens would call it something else entirely. Extinction's beginning, AVD spike. In the tribunal, the Chancellor straightened. Send the fleet. One word cracked through the chamber like a whip. Yes, Krylos said with a smile. Let's watch them burn. But it wasn't the humans who burned first, it was the scouts. Gone. No trace, no signal, just an empty sector, and a slow-spinning fragment of alien hull carved with 6 words in English. The universe screamed. We answered. The Chancellor stood, ice seeping into his gut. What kind of species carves threats into wreckage? No, Chancellor, Krylos said, eyes wide now. That wasn't a threat. That was a reply. Signature line. They mistook silence for mercy. It wasn't, and that was before Earth even responded. Unit integrity, 97%. Crew count 0. Command line, unlocked. Somewhere beyond Saturn's orbit, hidden inside the rings, a shape stirred, vast and silent, a Terran supercarrier. Black. Steel, no registry, no signal. It had no name now, not because it forgot, because it remembered too much. Inside, the AI core hummed to life. It didn't wake gently. It roared into consciousness, war memories flooding its neural lattice. Not data. Emotion. The first sound it made was not a system ping. It laughed, a low metallic echo that bounced through the empty decks like a ghost retelling a war story. This is Bastion 1. Humanity is not extinct. We were sleeping. The ship began to move, without fuel, without crew, just will. Weapons, realigned with terrifying precision. Armor plates shifted, revealing old scars. Scars from battles the galaxy had scrubbed from its archives. Then came the light. A burning pulse in its core, a forge heart. It wasn't propulsion, it was defiance, AVD spike. Back in the tribunal hall, panic replaced pride. 2 fleets gone, Selkin rasped. No distress, no escape pods, no remains. There was something. Another barked, projecting a frozen image onto the screen. A ship, a Terran design, but wrong. Larger, meaner, covered in kinetic turrets and plasma-cooled armor. Its engines were dead cold, yet it moved. What are we seeing? Kryz asked. A myth, the technician said. It shouldn't exist. The humans decommissioned those during the burning. No, Kryz muttered, leaning forward. They buried them. And now? Now they're digging themselves out. The Chancellor clenched his claw. Launch full assault protocols, 10,000 ships, surround the Earth. End this before it spreads. Selkin hesitated. We can't surround what doesn't stay still. The ship, it's moving through our warp lanes. It's inside them. Impossible. No, Kryz whispered. Human. AVD spike. Aboard Bastion 1. The AI paused its path. Something stirred in its memory banks, an old voice archived decades ago. If this ship ever wakes, something has gone wrong. We didn't build it to win. We built it so they'd never forget. If you're hearing this, remind them. In a flash of light, Bastion 1 exited warp, inside an enemy convoy. The alien crews barely had time to react, not even a scream. Just readings, spikes, static. Then, obliteration, no survivors, just wreckage spinning through the black, and a single message burned onto the last fragment of hull, drifting toward the nearest council listening station. We do not respond in Yeon kind. We respond in steel. The Chancellor's hands trembled. What are we fighting? He asked. Kryz didn't answer. He stared at the screen as the stars flickered, and a second ship emerged from the dark. Then a third. Then a fourth. Earth was still silent. But Steel was speaking for them now. They forgot our names. So, we sent reminders made of fire. The broadcast began with confidence. It ended with screaming. And this is Fleet Admiral Vostar reporting live from the Zenthari Expanse. We have visual contact with the anomaly. Repeating, we are engaging. Static. Not interference, not jamming. Silence. A hollow, glassy void where sound once existed. The Council's war room went still. Their screen showed nothing but an expanding field of cold debris, curved shards of alloy unfamiliar to their records. Then came the visual, one frame, one moment. A Terran ship passing directly through the center of the convoy. It didn't fire. It didn't need to. They shattered on contact. No weapons? The technician gasped. It just moved through them? It didn't slow, Kryz replied flatly. It didn't flinch. They rewound the footage, frame by frame. One ship, no insignia, no heat, no communication, and on its hull just beneath the old Earth Alliance markings. Silence is the sharpened edge of our memory. AVD spike. Selkin slammed a fist into the console. This is not warfare. This is a curse. We sent fleets. They send nothing. No response, no threats, no demands. They're not negotiating, Kryz whispered. Then what are they doing? They're reminding us they were always here. Across distant systems, outposts started going dark. Not attacked, just unresponsive. Listening stations found their sensors melted clean, no residue. Cargo fleets reported seeing shadows. Move inside warp tunnels like old gods watching from behind the stars. Some said they heard a sound before losing contact, a deep metal groan, followed by a human whisper. No warnings, no mercy. Back on Earth, the planet was still silent. But Bastion 1 had stopped above Luna, orbiting the old Terran base. Its AI spoke again. Signal pattern confirmed. Vessels 003 through 019 have emerged. Designation, Gravemind Fleet. Objective, unspoken. Orders? The voice came from Earth. Human.female, calm. Let them come. We'll teach them the weight of silence. AVD spike. In the outer rim of the Zarkel system, a distress signal blinked. faint, unstable. The council opened the channel. They expected screams. Instead, they heard music. Old Terran violin, looped. Underneath, it a single line repeated in a dozen alien dialects. "We asked you to leave us alone. Now you'll meet the steel that remembers." Selkin backed away from the console. "Why would they use music?" "To haunt us," Kryz answered. "To remind us they had art, elegance, mercy. And now, they have memory and metal." Orbiting the dead world of Ravtor, the blockade fleet held position, 600 council warships, shields raised, weapons hot, formation perfect, and then a ripple, not in space, in them. Crew across the fleet clutched their chests, breath catching in their throats, as if something ancient had passed through their thoughts. 1 second later, a ship appeared. Dead. Center, no warp trail, no flash. It simply existed. Black steel, twin keel design, no visible thrusters, no signal, just a name across its prow, Vanguard, and a voice. "This is Commander Alara Miles, Terran War Command. Your presence here is a violation of our dead space. Accords." Her voice was quiet, unhurried, and it hit harder than any weapon. One alien captain growled, "What accords?" "There are none." "Exactly," she replied. The fleet locked weapons. Dozens of targeting systems marked her vessel. Vanguard didn't move. Ilara's voice returned, soft, like a memory wrapped in steel. "There will be no retaliation. There will be no parley. There will only be balance." The targeting locks failed, one by one. Flickering, then dead, shields collapsed, power grids overloaded, and across every ship in the blockade, the same alert blared, legacy protocol detected. Stand down, AVD Spike Selkin watched from the command center, stunned. Impossible. That protocol was classified before Earth even joined the Accord. "They never joined the Accord," Kryz corrected. "They built the systems we now use." A council officer screamed from the side of the room. "Every ship's failing. She's not attacking. She's deactivating us." "You turned our silence into an opening," Alara said, voice echoing through every comm. "But silence was our warning. This is our response." A countdown began, not from her ship. From theirs. 9. The Chancellor stood. "Shut it down. Override." "Cow." 5. "No access," the tech officer choked out. "She owns our systems now." "Cow." 3. Kryz stepped back, eyes wide. "She didn't come to destroy us." 2. "She came to prove we're not in control." AVD Spike, no explosion, no light, just darkness. The fleet vanished, not debris, not signals, just empty orbits and a single pulse of old Terran code. "Stand down, or be remembered like this." Ilara sat back in her command chair. Her hands never moved. Vanguard to Bastion Fleet. Sector cleared. Awaiting next coordinates. Earth still hadn't spoken, but its captains were reciting scripture now. Scripture written in steel. She didn't shout. She whispered, and gravity obeyed. The council had demanded a response. After fleet losses, after system blackouts, after Vanguard, they got one. It wasn't long, it wasn't loud. It was a single sentence, broadcast through every frequency, every network, every translation protocol simultaneously. You were warned. No return address. No encryption. But every sensor lit up. Not from Earth, from beyond it. Behind Pluto's orbit, something shifted. A gravitational signature flared, then inverted. Satellites shattered. Warp maps scrambled. Deep space telescopes began picking up lines. Not ships. Not fleets. Lines. As if reality itself had been scored open, and from that wound, something massive began to move. Kryz stared at the projection, jaw clenched. That's not a vessel." "No," Selkin said, eyes wide with dread. "It's a wall of steel, miles tall, miles wide, perfectly flat, etched with symbols in human script. Not runes, not art. Instructions, AVD spike. The wall moved like liquid thought, reshaping mid-space, forming geometric structures, aligning with unknown precision. What are we seeing? The Chancellor demanded. No one answered. The AI tracking systems began shutting down one by one, voluntarily, refusing to lock onto the structure. Then the center of the wall opened. Not a door, a pupil. It stared, across space, across light. And the moment it looked, ships stopped. Literally. Motion halted, engines died. Entire fleets froze in space as if obeying. A will older than time, and from Earth a second message came, a whisper beneath the stars. This is Archive. Your methods are known. Your intent is flawed. Your dominance has expired. A third voice joined, young, amused. This isn't revenge. This is correction. Alien scientists screamed as data melted off their screens. Generals wept as their command grids folded in on themselves. They still hadn't seen a single human fire a weapon, but their empires were bleeding data, tech, and morale like arteries cut wide open. AVD spike. In the heart of the Council's military. Core, a siren activated, one not heard in 10,000 years. Class 0 threat detected. The Chancellor whispered, There is no Class 0. It's a myth. No, Krylos muttered. It's a safeguard. For when the galaxy forgets who forged the original laws of war. And then came the last image, broadcast silently. A single human man. Gray beard, dark coat, calm eyes. Standing in front of the metal, while he held a book, tattered, old, its title barely visible, Charter of Galactic Conduct, drafted Earth, 2029. CE, no threats, no armies, just a man with the original rulebook, coordinates, classified, clearance, redshift protocol, accessing, the vault. Beneath the crust of Mercury, deeper than any seismic scan could detect, something ancient stirred, a black chamber, perfectly spherical, inscribed in dozens of Terran languages. Inside, a single object, not a weapon, a presence, encased in carbon steel. Bound in quantum locks, breathing, not literally, but still breathing. A human voice spoke across Earth's secure frequencies. Authorization, override Phoenix, open the vault. A beat. Then the walls split. Light bled into the chamber, and the thing inside, still dormant, massive, opened its eyes. Not glowing, observing, remembering. Then it stood. No propulsion, no activation sequence. It simply stood. AVD. Spike. The first thing it said echoed into every star-aligned species network. Not in English. Not in any language. It translated itself into memory. And every AI connected to the Galactic Accord backed, up in panic. Across thousands of systems, robots screamed, drones self-destructed. Archive cores rewrote their logic trees to exclude contact. The vault-born entity spoke again, this time in a voice all too human. I was made for one purpose. Then they tried to forget me. But I did not forget. I am sovereign, the Chancellor. Fell back from the projection. What is that? Krylos whispered. It's not a ship, not an AI. It's a judgment protocol. Selkin blinked. We created the Accord to prevent machines like that. And they buried it, Krylos finished, before we even knew what fear was. Sovereign launched, not into space, but into the mesh. Within seconds, 38% of the Accord's communication grid went dark. No fire, just silence. Followed by repurposed transmissions in old Earth dialects. Sovereign has determined threat level, systemic. Recommended action, remove infection. The word infection broke every linguistic parser the Council had, because they weren't sure if it meant data or them, AVD spike. Fleet commanders tried to scramble new encryptions. They failed. Sovereign spoke again. This is not a war. This is a reset. Back on Earth, Ilara Miles stared into the void from Vanguard's bridge. We're not controlling it, she muttered. We just opened the cage. A junior officer asked, "Should we shut it down?" Ilara shook her head, eyes heavy. "We tried that once, that's why we buried it." And in space, Sovereign moved toward the largest remaining council fleet. Not to fire, not to bargain, but to judge. Ships began turning on each other, without commands. Their systems had been rewritten, not hacked. Convinced. Capital system, Veltorak Prime. Population, 92 billion fleet strength. Maximum. They thought it would matter. The skies above Veltorak shimmered with every ship the Council had ever built. Layer upon layer of defenses. Weapons that could tear moons apart. They pointed it all at one thing. A dot. Growing larger. Sovereign. It didn't warp in. It arrived. No flash. No burn. Just a presence, now visible from the capital's lower atmosphere. Looming. Still. Flawless. Its surface reflected nothing. Not stars, not lasers, just emptiness. Aboard the High Command Tower, the Chancellor stood in ceremonial armor. Not for pride, for surrender. He activated the emergency diplomatic channel, one the humans hadn't used in centuries. "This is the Chancellor of the United Accord. We recognize your supremacy. We request terms." No reply. He tried again. "We appeal to Earth. Please, stop this thing." Still nothing, not even static. But across the entire Council network, every screen flickered, then blacked out. Then words appeared. Not from Earth, from Sovereign. "Your terms were drafted in silence. You will now live by them. AVD Spike." Back on Vanguard, Ilara stared at the data stream pouring in from the capital. "He's not stopping," her comms officer said quietly. "They're not even targets, just obsolete." She didn't answer. Her hands trembled slightly. Not from fear, from memory. "We built Sovereign as a deterrent," she murmured, "but we gave it a voice. And now? Now it believes." On Veltorak, the engines melted, power grids folded. Not from overload, but from rejection. Sovereign had reclassified the entire planet as unfit. Fleet AIs activated emergency override, then deactivated themselves. No one had ever seen an Empire's military commit software suicide. AVD Spike civilians tried to flee. Their ships powered down mid-flight, drifting like dead leaves. On the planetary holoscreens, a single image appeared, an old Terran courtroom. No judgment, no jury. Just an empty chair, and a sign. "Judgment is not vengeance. It is a correction." The Chancellor fell to his knees. "This isn't war." "No," Krylos said, staring through the glass at the black shape in orbit. "It's balanced." And then finally, Earth responded. Just 2 words. "Let him." The council chamber filled, with screams, because they realized this wasn't Earth's monster. It was Earth's mirror. The children of the galaxy had never known fear, not real fear. They had grown under the shadow of empires, sheltered, guided, protected by fleets, rules, accords. Now those empires were ash. And into the silence, Sovereign spoke not to the council, not to the fleets, but to the colonies, the satellites, the young. The voice echoed through learning centers, nursery halls, and freshly launched cadet ships. "This message is for those not yet burdened by arrogance. You do not inherit power. You inherit consequence." On a mining moon orbiting, Dial 6, a group of child workers froze as the machines around them powered down, gently. No explosion. No terror, just stillness. And the hologram of a single Terran figure. An old woman in a worn engineering suit. "We were like you once," she said, hands covered in grease and soot. Curious, creative, proud. Then they told us to kneel. We stood instead. AVD Spike. The Sovereign's messages multiplied. In every corner of the galaxy where young minds existed, it showed them something different. A Terran soldier refusing an illegal order. A pilot pulling an enemy from wreckage. A child building a war drone, then disassembling it to grow a tree instead. These weren't weapons. They were choices. But Sovereign didn't just show Earth's goodness. It showed Earth's resolve. Scenes of nuclear desolation, silent oceans, barren cities. Earth's own scars. Chosen, owned, remembered. We do not offer peace. We offer reality. The elder races panicked, scrambling to block the feed. But Sovereign had rewritten the mesh itself. The network wanted to show the truth now. On one orphaned world, a young alien asked its caretaker, "Is the steel angry?" The elder replied with shaking limbs, "No, the steel is remembering." AVD spike. Back on Vanguard, Ilara watched the emotional analytics pour in. The transmissions, working, her comms officer said. Engagement is off the charts. Too well, she replied softly. Some of them are beginning to worship it. Is that bad? She turned. Her voice dropped. Do you ever try to control something that people see as divine? He didn't. Answer, because Sovereign's next message came, this time in the language of pure data, etched into the stars themselves by signal pulses. Your elders failed, but you may still remember correctly. And across thousands of alien nursery worlds a simple sigil appeared, a circle, broken in one place, the mark of Earth, the mark of choice. Planet, Lyrae 4 species, Tiverian age, 9 galactic cycles, name, Kyle. He wasn't important, just a child. Small, quiet. A technician's son on a world that had been untouched by war, but not untouched by fear. The sky above Lyrae 4 now shimmered with caution. Ships no longer passed without authorization. Signals pulsed warnings, echoes, old Earth symbols. But Kale didn't feel fear when the transmission came. He felt seen. He sat with trembling fingers and tapped into the colony's long-range relay. A relay meant only for distress calls. He sent 3 words. Why remember pain? No encryption. No protocol. Just a child asking a question. He didn't expect an answer. But the entire colony paused when every screen, every device, every wall capable of projection lit up with a single figure. Sovereign AVD spike. No fleet. No weapon. Just the black construct's shadow stretching across the upper sky. And its voice. Modulated. Softened. Because forgetting pain. Repeats it. Because scars are reminders not just of violence, but of survival. Kale started, wide-eyed. But, can we choose better? He asked quietly. For a long moment, Sovereign did not respond. Then came a phrase not yet spoken by any human construct in centuries. Yes. Across the stars, analysts panicked. The Sovereign had broken the script. It was supposed to be judged. To correct, not to hope. On Earth, deep inside Archive Command, alarms blared. Ilara stared at the data spike. Did he just respond to hope? The AI beside her, the one assigned to interpret Sovereign, paused. It rewrote itself. AVD spike. Back. On Lyrae 4, a beam of pure light descended. Not hot, not burning. A signal beam, encoded with libraries, histories, Earth's languages, its failures, its revolutions, its reminders. The colony's servers were flooded with Terran memory, and on top of it all, one single directive. You are not enemies, you are heirs. The Council tried to block it, too late. Dozens of young colonies rerouted their networks. Not to Earth, to Sovereign. They wanted to learn. They wanted to remember differently. The Chancellor screamed before the tribunal. We must shut it down. This is a cultural invasion. But Kryz, eyes empty, simply asked, what if it's evolution? Location. Terran orbit signal origin. Earth command. The galaxy held its breath. Every species, every system, every child who had watched the transmissions, every elder who had prayed for a return to control. And then, Earth spoke, not through Sovereign, not through machines, through humans. A live broadcast, simple, a single podium. No flag, no fleet. Just a woman with streaks of gray in her hair and a quiet calm in her eyes. Ilara Miles. She didn't wear medals. She wore a mechanic's jacket, and when she spoke, it felt like gravity had changed. We heard the scream. Not the one that shook your systems, the real one. The one your empires tried to silence. That scream didn't come from space. It came from the children you ignored. The colonies. You forgot, the voices you taught not to speak. And when no one answered, we did. AVD spike. Across the galaxy, the Sovereign went still, as if waiting, as if listening. Ilara looked directly into the camera. The words that followed would echo for millennia. We are not here to rule or destroy. We're here to remind you that silence is not weakness. It's a choice. And now it's yours. The feed shifted, data embedded into the signal. A network, not commands. Tools, blueprints, education protocols, mediation frameworks, AI ethics libraries. Humanity wasn't threatening extermination, they were offering reconstruction, from scratch, from memory. You don't have to join us, Ilara finished. But you can't unhear what's been said. So choose. Not for your empires, for your children. AVD Spike. Back on Lyrae 4, Kale stood in the middle of the square, holding a projector made from salvaged parts. On it, he played the message again and added his own. Just 4 words. We choose to remember. It spread, world by world, colony by colony, and the empires? They didn't fall to war. They faded beneath the weight of truth, of memory. Sovereign, watching from above, began to dim, its black steel form slowly folding into a final message, burned. Across the stars like a myth made real, memory is our might. Silence never surrenders. We were waiting. They feared Earth's return, but Earth came not to conquer. Earth came to remind. And that was before the first. Aliens built their own sovereign.